We are in these days remembering 50 days since the heady days of 1968, when a whole decade of civic activism, initiative, and protest culminated in unprecedented public expressions of exuberance, revolt, and transformation in Prague, in Paris, in New York, only to come to an abrupt end in Memphis, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Prague again, with the deaths of Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, and the Soviet-led invasion of Czechoslovakia in August 1968. In communist Czechoslovakia and neighboring countries, the civil society, albeit small and persecuted, continued to wage the struggle for human rights, freedoms, and dignity throughout the dark 20 years that followed, with groups like Charter 77, with the underground Samizdat Publishing, and with the alternative lifestyles phenomenon drawing on the influence of American beat poetry, rock music, and the flower power movement. In 1980, it scored a temporary victory to be followed by temporary setback in Poland, where the Solidarność workers movement first triumphed, only to be suppressed by the introduction of martial law in 1981. In 1989, it underwent a triumphant resurgence in Poland by forcing a semi-free election and winning it, in Germany, bringing the Berlin Wall down, and in Czechoslovakia during the Velvet Revolution of November 1989. And this event brought hundreds of thousands of people into the street and in a matter of weeks dismantled the communist regime without a single shot being fired. And much of the ground for this had been laid in the works and actions of dissidents like Andrei Sakharov in the Soviet Union, Václav Havel in my country, or Adam Michnik and others in Poland, who kept stressing the irreplaceable and irrepressible role of an active citizen in bringing about political change. In this struggle, essays like Havel's The Power of the Powerless served both as an inspiration and as a practical recipe for standing up and speaking. The lesson of 1989 has since been adopted and used, though with a different degree of success, by democratic movements in countries with autocratic regimes, be it in Korea and Burma, in the civic movements of the Arab Spring, or in Georgia and Ukraine. It continues to inspire dissidents in Cuba, in Russia, and in China. The plays and essays of Václav Havel are translated, read, and produced in Iran. So why are we, with regard to the incomparably richer and freer part of the world that we are fortunate to live in, asking the question, is civil society dead? There are, after all, several valid reasons why to answer the question in the negative. First of all, civic protest seems to be alive and well. Over the last decade, movements such as Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, or more recently the Me Too campaign, have drawn the attention to cases of overt and sometimes chronic wrongs, abuses, and injustice committed against both individuals and groups of people. A year ago in Korea, the non-violent candlelight revolution led to the resignation and presently conviction on charges of corruption and abuse of power of President Park Geun-hye. When I was in Seoul last fall, people explicitly raised the example of the Velvet Revolution and Václav Havel as their inspiration. In our neighboring Slovakia a few weeks ago, massive civil society protests against the uncomfortably close relationship between government officials and organized crime groups succeeded in bringing the government down and having a new one appointed in its place. That clearly shows the power that can be wielded by the civil society at moments of need.